I'm joined here by the CEO of FIDE, Emil Sutovsky. And Emil, what a wonderful day to be here in touch with you, because today is the International Chess Day, the 20th of July. And it was also 101 years ago that FIDE came into existence. So, a very happy International Chess Day to you.
Thank you, Sagar, and happy International Chess Day to you. Likewise, also, you are now in Las Vegas and it's still 19th.
Yes.
So
30 minutes to go.
You will celebrate it tomorrow or in an hour. But yeah, you are one of the chessy persons in this world. So for you, I think it's also a very special day.
Yeah, it's very special. And you know how I look at this day is like everyone should play chess, and my friends wish me on WhatsApp saying, International Chess Day, or share pictures of people playing chess. But I believe this is not how International Chess Day came into existence way back in 1924. Could you throw a bit of light, like how did this day come into being? How did FIDE come into existence? Maybe some historical perspective on this.
Well, it's actually a very amusing story behind, because it came almost out of nowhere. There was a big chess event in Paris back in 1924. It was not a top tournament, but there was a number of chess competitions, like you could call it several open events, but was not exactly open. So there were representatives of many countries gathering there. And
wasn't 1924 in New York, or there was also
no,
Paris?
1924 New York was a top tournament and famous tournament and so on. But in Paris during the 1924, they were having an event this summer, and there were representatives of many federations that gathered together, and even there were some players from these federations, not necessarily the chiefs of federations, or some reputable people who represented chess community from that country. And then after some meetings, they decided that it's time to gather and to unite this chess community, because prior to that, it was like everybody was on their own. The organizers, there were local organizers. Somewhere it was supported by very wealthy individuals, or like in Russia, it was Tsar. In London, as you know, Queen Victoria was basically a sponsor of London International Tournament and so on. But there was no organized chess lives. There were local communities. Probably the most advanced were in Germany in the second half of the 19th century. There were wealthy individuals, but there were no organized chess life. And then it was decided this time already Olympic movement was very much into execution, and everything was running for 25 years. And that's 1920s is the time where many sport federations have been established. And chess was one of the first. And starting 1924, FIDE started, let's say, operating. At the beginning, it was very, very amateurish, of course. And that was 14 countries, and then 15, 17. So it was very low number,
So
and predominant.
From what we have, like 200 as on today, it was just 14 back in the day.
Yes, yes. And predominantly European, out of, a part of European, and there was Argentina, Canada, I'm sure even if US was at the beginning, because I think US was not. Anyways, there was like, there was no Asian member by that time, and no African members. So it started as some small, I would say, group of national organizations, because even federations within countries were not well organized. And then it started to evolve slowly. By 1930s, I would say, the way FIDE started operating start looking more or less seriously, but still it didn't have an authority in the chess world. It did conduct some events. It did conduct but it was not FIDE as in a modern understanding of it. Only after the World War II, when the tradition of world champion deciding who he plays against on which conditions and what would it take to challenge him, what kind of monetary conditions should be provided, it changed with Soviet Chess Federation and Batumi, who was then leading player, pushing very much for assigning FIDE a role to basically to overview the entire system.
But why
To
did
create
Botvinnik do that? Like, was it like he wanted some kind of a neutral body?
Botvinnik was very systematic person in general. I think what he was trying to get is an order with a systemic qualification process where it would be built from up and to it immediately started not only with a match candidates into zonals. So it was very well structured, at least was a very first attempt. I mean, they just started doing so. And basically started 1948 when this match tournament with Batumi won. FIDE has been in charge, and then the situation started changing. Again, that was not the FIDE we know today. Again, many things were amateurish. The number of countries, of course, it was not 12 anymore, but it was below 50. And it was not such a scope of activity like we used to see. But it's gradually changed, the role of chess also has been increasing, the popularity. 1950s, 1960s, it's a bit of a, one Soviet champion after another, and it has no impact on how chess is seen in the West. But then Fischer comes, and then it happens a big boom, it's like Western world wakes up to know that they have a great champion. It's not only in the US, UK, and so on. Germany, a lot of things wake up. The next stage, I would say, of bringing popularity was Campomanes era. Campomanes was very, I would say, you cannot depict him in one way. I mean,
he was from Philippines, right?
Yes, he was from Philippines. He was very, very complex person. There were many good traits of him, there were many very bad traits of him. But one thing is undeniable that he brought, for one reason or another, many countries to FIDE. Asian countries, African countries, Central American countries, and the big increase, the jump maybe from 50 plus to 100 happened in his time. And then there's the latest period, as you know it already. But what is important, I think, that throughout these years, not only FIDE evolved, the most important, the chess evolved, the way chess is seen in the world. Because when we all started playing chess, we didn't know about FIDE. We learned about the game, and we are still passionate about the game. And that's the main thing. And we are not celebrating today. I mean, last year it was 100 years to FIDE, so there was a bit of a focus on the FIDE thing. But today and in other days, I mean, we are celebrating. That's a celebration of chess. And I'm of course very happy, and I'm here in Batumi during the FIDE Women's World Cup, and I'm delighted that we have such an important event here, but also the atmosphere of a chess holiday, and it's important.
Like right now, as a person who's following chess very deeply, I see that in the chess world there are so many ups and downs, like players talking about certain things related to the rules that are made by FIDE, certain events that are happening, and so on. But I believe this existed throughout the history, right? At different parts, different things happened with the players and FIDE. It's not something new.
No, it always was. I would tell you one thing which people don't think about. You simply, not you, but people simply don't know what was happening 50, 60, 70 years ago, because the information there was not spreading as quickly, as widely, and so on. I would say the number of people who are unhappy with what FIDE is doing now is proportionally is like at the lowest ever. It is just that today you do so much, you do so many events, you have so many players, you have so many media ways to express your minimal discomfort or significant discomfort with something, that it immediately gets into some sort of news. I can tell you that the president, like Uwe, who was such a reputable figure, but he was not on speaking terms with a number, not speaking terms, not only people were unhappy, with a number of leading players by that time. At times it was Fischer, who was of course prima donna and it was difficult to deal with him. At times it was Larson, it was Portish. There were people, because it's always very complex. It's always you have to take decisions. It's always somebody can get offended. I think the most important is that FIDE should try to do all our projects with, A, professionalism, B, thinking of a chess community and larger chess community, I would say, and C, it should be always in good faith. I mean, mistakes can happen, will happen. I mean, any government does it, any private company does it, and surely the big organization like FIDE would do it, because when you focus on one thing, you can maybe succeed. Although, even if you try to organize one tournament, and you have a brilliant tournament now in Las Vegas, there are issues, I would not comment to take anything from a beautiful tournament, but there are issues, and players are vocal about it, right?
Right.
But think about it, it's just one tournament. And when you're FIDE, when you run in parallel so many projects, tournaments, social programs, educational stuff, and so on, of course, inevitably, you have here and there not perfect way, or sometimes you took a decision knowing that somebody, yes, may dislike it, but there were certain considerations.
Right. There was one more thing I wanted to know. FIDE has the slogan, which is called Gens una Sumus, which means we are one family. Where did that come from? What is the history of that slogan? Could you tell us a bit about that?
Oh, that's very interesting one. Actually, it's good you're asking, and it almost looks like scripted, but I mean, we could swear that it was not. So it's very nice one. There was a Russian guy who escaped from Russia after the revolution. He didn't want to live with communists, so he escaped to France, as many of Russian prominent guys in that era. Russian Revolution happened in 1917, and up to 1920, if you were willing to leave Russia, you could leave. And it was a choice for hundreds of thousands of people, mostly or nearly entirely of intelligentsia or nobles and so on. There was a guy, his surname was Potemkin, who escaped to France. Actually, Alekhine escaped the same way in 1920. And many great Russians whom we know, like Rachmaninoff or Shalyapin or Kandinsky, so many artists. So he escaped to France and he settled in Paris. He was one of the signatories of the FIDE at the time. And when they were, and he was a, let's say, not a very strong but passionate chess player. And he was also a passionate, let's say, poet, critic of literature, and so on. He knew Latin, and when they were looking for one way to describe what FIDE is about, he came up with the idea. And 1920s is in general in the world was this atmosphere of universal brotherhood, because there was a feeling that the World War I is over, that now we are trying to unite the world under some nice ideas, beautiful ideas. Also, you could see it in art. It came the new wave in art and so on. So he was coming with this, let's say, notion that now we have this unity of people, and what unites us is one game which we all love. And for that matter, he chose to go with Latin, which would not be one country's preference, but something that educated people of the time would know. Nowadays, okay, nobody knows Latin anymore. Maybe some doctors who studied, or somebody who takes it as a major in high school or in university. But otherwise, but that time, many educated people would know that. In all the books, you had the references, some sort of quotes in Latin and so on. And he came up with something very nice indeed, gens una sumus. Sumus is not exactly family, actually. Sumus is rather a tribe, I would say. So we are one tribe, because those who are, united by something. So we don't have this maybe family connection, but we are one tribe. And this is a very, very good choice. I think it is tested by time and it tested by reality, because think about it. You can go basically to any country in the world, and I don't mean you because you are famous as now as Sagar with 2 million subscribers or any other, but I mean any chess player. You are 1500, 1800 chess player. You travel everywhere, and you would have players who plays the same opening like you do, who studies the same games you know, and you can always talk about, remember this game as part of Karpov or Magnus Fischer and so on. And that's exciting. That's even, I mean, in a way you could say, okay, everybody could discuss football, but that's not exactly the same. They could discuss maybe some particular goal, but you have chess as a broader culture. Chess is built more on a tradition, more on a ways to share these things, and also to play, because you are just two of you. You just get there and you play with him the game, so you immediately connect. So it's, I think it's excellent motto, and of course, as everything in our world, it doesn't always reflect the reality, right? I mean, sometimes you say one family, but you have a super grandmaster, and you have a 1200 player, and they're not. We know sometimes it's not the same, right? I mean, we have to be fair about that, and I'll be blunt as usual. But still there is a tribe. Like in a tribe, you have somebody who is a chief of tribe, and you have somebody who is, but still it's something that unites all those who were lucky to be to be a chess player. Because definition of chess player is also unclear. When we say chess players, what is a chess player? You don't call somebody who plays in the yard a football player, right? You call a chess player anyone who basically plays chess.
Right.
I'm a chess player. I'm 1200 rated. I'm a chess player. I'm 28, 25. I'm a chess player. So that's also something about chess. So chess is something that once you are in, you are a chess player.
Yes, I've always found chess to be very inclusive. Like everyone is together, no matter which country, what, and also you don't need to speak the same language. But also those who are, let's say, specially abled and so on, they can also play the same sport and feel equal. Beat people. Like I know a lot of visually challenged friends who are visually impaired, and when they beat sighted players, they feel a lot of confidence in them, and I think this is all very beautiful about
Yeah,
the
it's
game of
very
chess.
inclusive. I'm proud that we have these programs for physically disabled and challenged people. And actually, we're gonna announce soon the Paralympiad, and that's another great event which we introduced only a few years back, because prior to that in chess there was no Paralympiad. There were separate events for people with various sorts of disabilities, but now we'll have already second Paralympiad, and it's going to be big. And I think it's important not only to show the inclusivity. It's for many of people, of challenged people, it's the thing or the only thing they enjoy so much in their life.
Right. Amazing. And Emil, you are right now in Batumi, where a very important tournament is happening, the FIDE Women's World Cup. And we are now to the quarterfinal stage. 8 players are standing. What are your thoughts on the event? I also saw you were commentating. I followed a bit of that commentary late in the night here. It was very exciting. It was the tie breaks of the I think third round. But yeah, please do share your thoughts. What do you feel about the event?
World Cup is always very exciting. You know, it's a very format, it's KO, so you have so many exciting moments. I always have dual feelings at these events because as a player who competed in a number of World Cups and previously even World Championships, which were conducted this way, it's such a drama. You know, you came prepared for the event. You're playing good chess, and then one move and you go home, and that's a lot of drama. But then also that's a lot of sportive. You know, that's the essence of sport, right? Here and now you do it, and it's exciting. We also see a lot of young players succeed. We see favorites not doing very well in this event, so few of them already went down. And but again, it's a sport. I'm happy that we have new faces emerging, and every time I keep repeating that it's our mission, in particular in women chess, because women chess have still so much less opportunities compared to men. So these events are important, and we hear so amazing journey of Mirvet Kamalidenova
Yes,
from Kazakhstan, who qualified to top 16 and was very close to beating even
Vaishali.
Vaishali. Yes, we have Divya, who is having. I don't want to praise anyone who is still playing because I don't want to jinx anyone, but it's just amazing to see both the intensity of the fight, the level of chess, but also the big chess festival. It's you know, because it's you have, we started with 107 players, 46 countries. You have, it provides an opportunity for players who maybe are very unlikely even to make to the second round, but for them is something to look forward, something to qualify for, to prepare for. She becomes famous in her country for being a representative at the World Cup, so it's very important. And once again, it's our role to preserve this both as a very top-notch professional event, but also as an opportunity for, let's say, newcomers.
Yes, and it has 3 spots to the candidates, which makes it a super important event from the World Championship cycle as well. And I'm excitedly following it also because 4 Indian players are now in last 8, like Humpy, Harika, Vaishali, and Divya, and it's actually quite interesting what will happen, who will win this year.
Well, I can only promise you that one of the Indians will make it to semi-final.
That's because Harika and Divya are playing each other, so one will make it. But yeah, it's very very nice. And Emil, did you find time to also follow this event that's happening in Las Vegas? Do you have any thoughts about this? There are some interesting innovations here, like people in the crowd are able to tune in and watch the commentary live. Do you have
Yeah,
any thoughts?
I obviously follow for the due to the time difference. I can't follow most of it live. I mean, I let's say at the nights here, I follow the morning hours. Let's say yesterday I saw your commentary live, and actually very nice commentary. I have to say, I prefer yours rather than various other. I would not mention anyone. At You, Amruta, and your colleague. I haven't met him, but I actually like the way
Harshit.
he's, yes, he's all very well. I mean, you and Amruta, of course, is a couple duo and so on, but he's not like somebody third who is joining. It feels very very smooth, and I have mixed feeling about it all. I like many things. For example, how it is set as something that is a TV show. I see the screens, I see the cameras, I see how it is all made. At the same time, I do have a feeling that organizers and players do not quite understand for themselves. Is it a show or is it a serious tournament? I mean, somehow there is no clear distinction between what's going on. Also, this technical meeting was exactly about that. I mean, what in an essence it is. And I think for freestyle chess, if it will go to the next year in some sort of let's say, grand plan, which they had initially, I think to define it's very important because, of course, it's very easy to criticize FIDE, and I'm used to that. But when you have only one project, at least defining whether you're doing it classical format or you're doing it rapid, whether you are doing it in a format that like what it was in Paris, that you have FBI level of security or you have audience with mobile phones and everything that could. It's a bit of a hit and miss. At the same time, if they manage to to break through on TV and Netflix or would show it as a way to promote chess, I'd be happy because I think I have been telling it many times that when the success of any even private project is universal, it's good for chess in general. So here is I mean, don't I'm not contradicting to myself. I would be still strongly opposing to any attempts to call it World Championship without FIDE. But if as a private event they will succeed, I will be only happy. I don't see it happening in a way of let's say, we see the numbers on let's say YouTube and so on. They are not impressive. Let's be honest about that. In spite of grandeur attempts in terms of all the streamers, all the influencers, all the promotion, it just seems doesn't click with larger part of hardcore chess audience, but they do an excellent job for trying and filming it for someone who is absolutely new, and maybe it could work. Maybe it could work for a mass production, like for people who do not necessarily distinguish between all these finesses we know about in the chess world, and it could work with I don't know, with some Netflix or sort of. This is a different story. As for the tournament itself, I'm a bit surprised to see a number of really significant blunders by his top players. I mean, it's like in every game you have something like ups and downs. It's once again, it's good for drama. It's good for a show. If we're talking about the show, great. That's the best script. If we talk about something serious, like Magnus was proposing that we have freestyle in a long time control, because freestyle is something that we really need to delve into and to understand the plans, to think from the movement. But then what's happening here is just an opposite. So mixed feelings. But again, as long as they will succeed to promote it to a wider public, I just wish it to succeed.
Thank you, Emil, for those thoughts. On one of the days, like we have a media day here, we did interview many players, and one very interesting interview was with Hikaru Nakamura, where he spoke about his ambitions of the candidates. And there is a rating spot in the candidates, which Hikaru talked about that it's very likely, or he's one of the favorites to get it, because it's an average of 6 months, and he intends to play some local events, not so strong events, and then maintain his rating about 2800 and get that spot. And even though it's going to help him reach the candidates, he was like, I'm not very happy with the fact that FIDE keeps this spot. I also mentioned that this spot, FIDE keeps it for hoping that Magnus will return back to the cycle. So wanted to know your thoughts on this.
My plan is pretty simple. I've said many things over the last couple of years. I think that FIDE has gotten wrong, and one of the big things is there should not be a rating spot. I think having a rating spot is a huge mistake. I mean, it maybe is not politically correct to say this, but my view about the rating spot, it's simply, we're sorry, Magnus, here's your chance to play the candidates and become world champion again if you're really interested. And I don't think there's any other reason that they have the rating spot. I think it's literally on the off chance that Magnus wakes up tomorrow and suddenly he decides that he wants to play classical chess seriously again. And I think from my general view, it's a FIDE, for whatever reason, they can't get over the fact that Magnus has moved on from classical chess and he has no interest. So I'm very much against it. And I think it should not have been there before. We've already seen some issues with Ding Liren and Alireza Firouzja qualifying. I think a lot of people spoke out about that at the time. And What they did, in some ways, it's the same thing. I can game the system, and barring some big mistake where I lose to some underrated kid, I will make it quite easily. So I don't think it's a good thing. But again, the system is the way it is. And so as far as specific tournaments go, my intention is effectively to play something like 4 tournaments with 6 games over the course of a weekend with 2 games a day, like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event, maybe in the US, maybe in Canada, and I'll get to 40 games, and that's that. So I don't necessarily think it's great, but I think that FIDE continues to make mistakes as it relates to the candidates tournament, and this whole issue with the rating spot. There shouldn't be a rating spot. They should just accept that Magnus has moved on. And then beyond that, if they're going to have a rating spot, you have to have better rules. Because, like I said, Ding Loren, the way he got in, a lot of people were skeptical. A lot of people didn't like what Ali Reza did. And now I'm going to pretty much be able to coast in, barring something horrible. And it's a problem with the system. I also think that...
Hikaru often makes statements even in good faith, but not knowing the facts. That's the problem. And of course, he has a bigger platform, and that's very difficult to refute him from a smaller platform. But that's very okay. He says that we do it for Magnus, but it's absolutely illogical because this rating spot has been for years. I mean, it always has been there. Actually, there was a wild card. Wild card were removed. There was a rating spot always, and there was always there used to be 2 rating spots. Now, if it were for Magnus, we would limit it that if you are number 1 in the world, you could qualify by rating. What the regulation says is that if you're either number 1 or number 2 in the world. So someone could actually allege that we did it for Magnus or Hikaru in this case, because why we did leave it 1 or 2? I'll explain you the logic. Previously, in last cycle, it wasn't like that. If you didn't qualify from other ways, the highest rated player who didn't qualify by other path can go. That's the way Firouzja qualified. You remember, it was not very kosher the way he made it into, but still he qualified from 6, I think from number 6 in the world or something like that. Then we thought it's unfair, because why we preserve this rating spot? Because we want that a player who is clearly amongst world best should be in the candidates. Candidates, top 8 players. So we wanted to be. But we decided, okay, probably we shouldn't go all the way down and to look who is number 6 or number 7, because it's not exactly, maybe the difference is too small, and maybe it's more logical to avoid someone who was close to qualifying via other passes. So we limited it to 2 best in the world. Because if you are in number 2 in the world, it would not be good for candidates tournament to run without number 2 in the world. That's a very simple logic. So once again, it had nothing to do with Magnus. We had no hopes that Magnus would return, and why would he return now? And once again, why would it be 2? What we said, that Magnus would lose 50 points and then he would want to return? What? I mean, it's just absolutely illogical. And it's not the first time that Hikaru makes factual statements without knowing facts. I remember when we introduced the FIDE Circuit thing, he immediately said, well, what a stupid system. I would go to some random open and win it and have 2,900 performance there and so on. And only then to realize that basically you cannot earn many points in a week tournament in this. Simply he didn't read the rules. I have a feeling that here he also, maybe he read the rules, but he didn't notice or didn't remember that it was not anyone, and it was not for number 1, it was just for 2 players. And it's logical. Look, as long as Hikaru preserves number 2, I mean, he should be in a tournament where top 8 players, define who is number 2. Now, about the ways to qualify, how legitimate is to, let's put it this way, to play some, as he put it, small opens where there will be 1 grandmaster and so on. Maybe that could be defined more subtly, more, let's say, to avoid similar situation of when you just basically fulfill your quota, or even in case of necessity, farm 0.8 for each win of versus a player. So I don't say that Hikaru is farming because it has a big gap, but it could have happened. I think here I accept that we haven't been too, let's say, scrupulously closing all the loopholes. When we write these rules, we try to think of top chess players as top chess players, and sometimes, I mean, we miss this little sort of ways to game the system, and that could happen. I reckon, but once again, it has nothing to do with Magnus or trying to please Magnus or to give him an opportunity to give back. It's just the logic suggests that if you are one or two in the world, you should be playing in
like the FIDE circuit is gaining more and more importance in the cycle of reaching the candidates. Do you think this will continue? Because I saw your tweet where you did speak about the fact that that you are happy with the FIDE circuit, but you also recognize the fact that the possibilities of financial opportunities for top players which have been reduced because of this, you're going to work on that. And I believe Anish was someone who had brought that up, and then he also retweeted it. So just your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I agree here. It's not easy to find a balance between a wish to have a system of tournament which would actually implies that top players play more events, and if they want to qualify, and play also open events, and provide more opportunities to players who actually wouldn't have previous. Remember how it was previously? I mean, you couldn't have just even enough tournaments. If you were not a part of lucrative events like Grand Chess Tour or Stavanger or FIDE, you didn't have an opportunity to score points. So that's why this is the system which we came up not only succeeded in expanding this, but it also led to a creation of new events. Anybody knew about Chennai Masters 2 years ago? No. You see Chess started doing it, and you see more events emerging. So I think it prompted many new events to appear. I agree that ideally there should be a financial icing on the cake to top it all. The question is, it cannot be small money, and if it is a big money, where you get it? I mean, you can't put it. Okay, you get 20,000 or 50,000, so you need more or less a serious prize fund, and where from? Typically, the prize funds come from the organizers of the event. So either one way is to sort of charge the tournaments which want to be a part of the system, which is possible, and another way is just to generate again more income for FIDE from other events and activities, and to allocate some funds to that. But in general, I tend to agree with Anish that some bits are lacking, but in general, I still reiterate that the idea is good, and I think it brought much more good things to chess society. There is one problem, I keep repeating it. We hear very limited number of voices who have very broad platforms. Any words by Hikaru, by Anish, by Magnus are heard and repeated by many, but you don't hear players of 2700 who got an opportunity. You don't hear 2750 even often. You don't hear them like some of them are just not inclined to talk a lot, right? I mean, have you ever heard Arjun saying, "Oh, it's great. We have now many opportunities." He's just not the sort of person who to talk about. And also, of course, when you have a criticism, and sometimes justified criticism, but you have to think that people who are unhappy are always more vocal, and that's normal.
Yeah.
And also, there is this common notion that you never praise FIDE. I mean, when FIDE does something right, you say, okay. If FIDE does something you think wrong, wow, these guys did something wrong. So that's how it works. It doesn't mean that we should not listen to these critical notions. And I think Anish was mostly reasonable, and we'll try to find a way to make it in a better way. But once again, I think that already now the system, how it works, brought much better, much more objective way of scoring points. And once again, it prompted new events to appear. It gives fans more exciting tour to follow, and so on.
Absolutely. Thank you for these thoughts. Also, having the openness on certain things that FIDE needs to improve, and this is very refreshing and very nice to see in that. I wanted to also talk about one last topic here, which is the FIDE Grand Swiss, which is going to come up very soon in September. It's starting in the first week of September. This is going to be a huge event because both open and women will happen together. It's happening in Samarkand, Uzbekistan. And also, very nice news is that the world champion Gukesh is playing there. Were you surprised, and what are your thoughts on this event?
Grand Swiss is very dear to my heart in general. If you remember, I think I shared it with you when it all started. It was 5 years ago, something like that. This idea I had in mind for many years. Actually, I was unlucky to not have it when I was in my competitive years, because I was always in the belief that the Swiss tournament like that, with many players who are not necessarily top 10, but let's say top 50 players or top 100 players should get a chance and should have good prize money and all the possibility to grow, and it would also create an opportunities for younger players. All those, Gukesh, Arjun, Prague, Abduzatorov, Hans Niemann, they all came through this one. I remember very well 2021 Riga. So I'm getting a letter from unknown to me American boy, 2520 or something. I'm Hans Niemann. I'm a young American player. I want to ask for a wild card. Of course, look, promising player. Let's invite him and so on. It gives us so many opportunities for players, both of course for ladies as well. Because so as a person who initiated the very event, and I remember even the first one when Kasparov was very vocal against. He was saying that Sutovsky's idea just has nothing to do with the top chess. You cannot define candidates in an open tournament and so on. It's wrong. I think if the tournament is long enough, of course you would have 7 rounds tournament. It would not be. You have 11 rounds. You have number of players which matches it. You don't need to score 9.5 out of 11 or something like that. It gives me enormous pleasure that we managed to not only to maintain it, but to increase year after year the financial conditions for there. And the total prize fund this year is $855,000. And we cover all the expenses, flights, hotels, food, transfers, everything for all the players, men and women.
Wow.
And I think it's a big thing for many players. And Gukesh's playing is once again it will cause some sort of a controversy because somebody will say, okay, he's impacting the results, but also from another point of view, for the status of the tournament, it's good and important that the world champion takes part in it. So it's exciting. Actually, the top rated for one reason or another. Magnus, Hikaru, and Fabi, they do not play. So all the top rated players are from the younger generation. So it's Gukesh, Arjun, Prague, and Abduzatorov, 4 youngsters. Of course, you have experienced guys like Nepo there around, and Anish, who is already, I mean, he's eternally young, but he's already not a young generation still already. So it's great event. I think it will be exciting for so many spectators. It's also the women's section would be very exciting, and I'm looking forward to have the broadcast dedicating quite a bit of time for women's chess again. I will keep repeating my mantra. I want to make the chess world also paying attention to women's competition, and I still am pressing hard on this point that when we are talking about growing chess, you cannot just grow it just by milking the same top guys and that's it. The growing is about everything. It's about women. It's about some countries. It's about the regions. It's not about just selected few and that's it. So I think I hope that the coverage that we will have in this event where they will be playing together will help also boost interest for women's chess, and people will learn new names and they'll start following top female players as well. And in general, I know that the level of organization in Samarkand, based on our experience in 2023, going to be top notch. You remember this championship? I think it was one of the most exciting ones, and I'm definitely looking forward. Not only looking forward, I'm working very hard to already now to make sure that all the arrangements are done. We are playing in the huge venue. It is a venue for the future expo.
It's not the actually same as World Rapid and Blitz.
It's the same cluster. It's the same set of, but it's maybe 800 meters from the venue we played last time. It's chess has a historical connection to expos in many countries. As you remember, the match Carlsen Nepo was an expo in Dubai. As you remember or may remember, when Kasparov played with Karpov in Seville in 1987, it was as a part of a promotion of Expo 1992, I think. Hosted by Spain. And the funny one that the first international chess tournament in London in 1851, it was the first international fair. Then it was not called Expo, it was fair. International fair, which was the first Expo in that time. So chess has this long-standing connection to Expo. And what is Expo is in the fact that every country presents the best they have. And the chess tournament of the kind is exactly like that. Every country presents the best players they have. So it's I'm certain that we will manage to secure excellent conditions for players to take part and to enjoy. And but of course the most important is sportive part, because there are 2 qualification spots both for men and for women.
Yes, it's going to be very exciting. A lot of things coming up. The Grand Swiss, the FIDE World Cup later in the year, FIDE World Rapid and Blitz. So looking forward to those events. And Emil, thank you for your time. And it was very nice talking to you.
Yes, and I'm just before we conclude, I would also draw attention of those spectators to the event, which is not of a professional sport, but important to us. It starts in 2 weeks from now in Washington.
Yes. The FIDE World Schools.
World Schools Championship. It's a huge project which we do together with International Chess School Association Federation, and together supported by Freedom as a sponsor. It's a huge project. We have over 50 countries there, and actually, it's we cover everything for the players. Once again, we're talking about. What's the meaning for that? These are teams from the schools. It's not school children. It's not just another World Junior Championship just named in us. It's a school team. So they study in the same middle school, let's say, and or primary school, and then they travel. They have to be from the same school. It's checked and everything, and they travel. It supports to promotion chess in schools all over the world.
Yes.
And FIDE also, we not only we organize it, all the schools have all these kids have an opportunity to travel, to play all free of charge. We're covering everything from the tickets to hotels and believe me, it's a significant expense, but we're doing that because we firmly believe that these sort of initiatives establish chess as something important for society. So the kid would know that if he would go to study chess and not just to sit on a smartphone and play some games, so he could see the world in the young age, he could succeed, he could become a hero of his school, maybe even his nation, and so on. And that starts with the schools. And schools play a very important role in that. And we send the message not only to the kids and parents, but also the ministries of educations in these countries that chess is supported. Please do start the chess sections in your chess lessons in your schools. And I think it's an important initiative. I want to thank Freedom for supporting it. But for us as FIDE, we also spare no effort. We not only we organize this one, we also stage a big educational conference, and
Yes.
as a part of it, where representatives of around 20 countries would share their experience, how the chess is taught in their countries, because it's very different approach in every country. You cannot have unified approach, and because it depends on the level of chess in the country,
Right.
on the tradition, on how many teachers you've got, on how many hours you've got. So it's all encompassing initiative, and I'm very proud we're doing it because, listen, Sagar, if FIDE doesn't do it, nobody does it.
Right.
It's very clear. And I'm proud we do it, and we would not, we don't spare any efforts for that, and I hope it will be another success.
I actually think like when the school which will win this championship will come back home, it will be a huge thing for the school. And I think that really will inspire many schools to take up chess. Like, for example, let's say there's a very big school in India which supports chess and has created more than 20 grandmasters, the Velammal school. And I don't know if they are participating here, but I believe if they did and they were in 2021 in Dubai, they won, and it was like amazing news, celebrations and so on. So I think it's a fantastic thing.
Of course, they get the recognition. I remember myself, just to finalize a funny fact that maybe nobody knows, even you, Sagar, that when I was growing in Baku, I studied the same school as Vladimir Akopyan, who later moved to Armenia and later moved to US, and we played for the same team in the school competitions, White Rook. And later, already 10 years later, the same school was Temur Rajabov. So it has a tradition to have the schools. So it's quite rare that three grandmasters who were top 20 in the world studied in the same school. I don't know if it would be an example. As you said, 20 in the same school maybe, but let's say grandmasters who were near the top, not quite likely. And I think it's very important, and it gives also incentive to school to something to boast about, and it's important for them to know that their efforts are not for nothing. They get international recognition.
Will
And
this become an annual event, or would it be biannual? Or
we plan to have it as an annual event. We had it in 23 already, if you remember. Now we had it in 21 in a smaller format during Dubai. 23 is a big format in Kazakhstan. 25 now in Washington. We want to have it as an annual event, but it's very costly. So we hope to be able to raise funds for it to be an annual event. Yes.
Yeah, kudos to FIDE and Freedom for doing this one, and thank you, Emil, for your time.
Thank you.